How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I need to give you some information about yesterday. There's some big buying happening with the Bitcoin ETFs, with some other whales as well, and I want to make sure you stay focused. I don't want you to lose your way this late into the bull market before the next move. And of course, I can always be wrong, right? I cannot see the future, but I think things are about to get interesting, and you're gonna want to see this next leg of the market. You're gonna want to be invested. You're gonna want to stay focused. Before we start, if you want to hit the subscribe button, I appreciate that. There's also a link underneath the video to MargX where you can trade cryptocurrency using leverage. There's also a big airdrop that goes on for a few more days where you can get some free money, basically. Who wouldn't like some free money? You might as well sign up and try out the platform. A lot of people have. There's also a link to CoinW as well underneath the video, and there's a 100 million token jungle airdrop. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm up at the cottage, so different location. We'll get back to the normal location in just a few days. That will be good, but it's always good to rest and recharge with family as well. So make sure that you're getting that in as well, because I kind of see these cycles as phases, right? There's like a sprint for 3 months or 4 months, and there's so much that happens. You want to be paying attention the whole time, and then there's a quiet period, and then there's a sprint, and then a quiet period. So you kind of take that rest when you can get it. The last 4 months, we've been ranging. Obviously, over this week, we did fall down pretty significantly. We went all the way down to 53,000. Now we're back up at 56,700. There's some big buying that happened over the last few days. So actually, if you look at the liquidations, we saw $133 million worth of shorts liquidated versus $36 million worth of longs. That is part of the reason we're moving up. We're also moving up because we've seen some big buys. ETF investors bought the dip. $117 million from Fidelity. This is the biggest daily inflow since early June. Okay, they're not the only ones either. Fidelity bought 117.4 million, Bitwise 30.2, ARK 11.3, GBTC had outflows. And if we look here, IBIT had just, what is that, 0 on the day? Just 0 on the day, including 0 on the 3rd, including 0 on the 1st. So many zeros here from IBIT. It's been back and forth with Fidelity and with all the ETFs, honestly. While we've been ranging in price, we've seen a lot of back and forth action from the ETF. Some days we have large outflows, some days we have some inflows, but nothing's really been consistent, at least with the ETFs. But if you look here, Mr. 100 has been pretty consistent. Just on the 5th, he bought 100, 200, 300, about 700 Bitcoin, and then bought another 103 Bitcoin. So about 800 Bitcoin bought that day. Then 106 Bitcoin bought already on the 5th, or on the 6th, sorry. So just massive buying here. About 6 million Bitcoin, $6 million worth of Bitcoin at a time. And this has been when the market's been scared. The Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index touched fear, about 29. If we scroll down here, let's see where it's at now. Still at 26, which is fear. We were actually lower, right? We were lower in price, but the fear is getting lower as well. 26 on the Fear and Greed Index. So what's actually happening? Well, we had a bunch of selling, right? There's not much trading over the holiday in the US. We had Mt. Gox. We had the German government start selling some Bitcoin. Now there's some information that FTX is supposed to start sending some of their cash back. FTX will distribute $16 billion in cash to their creditors a few months from now, Q4 of 2024. Those people have been sidelined since the FTX collapse. Imagine only part of that money flowing back into crypto. That's interesting to think about. And I think we have to think past the next few weeks and think about what usually happens in the fall. Fall is usually a great time for crypto. Mix this with the elections, mix this with some positive inflation data recently, mix this with lowering interest rates, mix this with global adoption and more large entities buying Bitcoin. Mix this with a presidential candidate talking about using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. And this is about the most bullish setup I think we could ever ask for. Okay? If you were, let's say we go back a year, and I was to come to you and say, what would you want the bull market to look like? Like, what would you want to happen? Besides price action, what would you want different right now? I guess you would say maybe no one's selling, but that's always going to be something that has to happen, right? There's always going to be someone selling at every single price. If you want to buy Bitcoin, someone has to sell it. So what would you want different? We have a pretty strong economy right now. Inflation does seem to be kind of leveling out / coming down a bit. People do have some extra money to invest. It's not great because of inflation, but it's okay. We have big corporations like BlackRock and Fidelity jumping into the market in mass, forcing other people to buy, right? They're literally forcing people to buy because they're putting it into other portfolios, their Bitcoin ETF. You have large companies like Semler Scientific, like MicroStrategy, like DeFi Technologies, buying Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet. You have smaller companies like Butchers putting it on their balance sheet. Presidential candidates including it in their speeches as one of their talking points, right? Everything points to a big bull run. Now we just have to wait. That's the tough part for a lot of people, is waiting. Okay, it is tough, but we're in a very different spot than we were even a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, we were basically at the bottom of the bear market. Bitcoin was $16,000, $17,000. A lot of people were thinking we were just chopping around before we had another 50% drop. That was the hard part. That was difficult when no one wants to buy Bitcoin. Now, there are people that want to buy Bitcoin. This is a fundamentally different market. It's hard to see Bitcoin going to zero when there's so much adoption like this. So the risk has lowered. To be fair, we have moved up a decent amount, right? You have less potential upside when Bitcoin's at 56,000 than 16,000. But there's a lot less risk. And we're moving into a time of higher liquidity. I think we're going to go back into a ravenous bull market, a raging bull market. But we'll have to wait. That is why we have bull markets. Because some people can't wait any longer, right? They sell to the whales, and then the whales continue to buy up the dip and say, hey, we don't mind it going up a little bit higher. We could take some profits if we moved up. So we'll allow it. We won't manipulate it for a bit. That's basically how it happens. And there are a bunch of people that jump on that see the price moving and try to buy in. And then, the people that continue to buy and buy and buy that didn't have enough allocation, they continue to buy when it's too high. The people that bought low shed off some of their Bitcoin. They take profits or just dump it all. Same thing with altcoins. And that's when we start the next bear market. But right now, as you can see, there are whales buying, which is typically a good sign. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Check out the links to Margex and to CoinW, and I'll see you in the next one.